Welcome to This Explainer. Look, today we're going way beyond just asking if you can deduct business travel. We are actually going to build the exact framework you need to do it right and, more importantly, create a rock-solid defense if an auditor ever comes knocking.
Okay, let's just get right to the heart of it, shall we? For any business owner, this is the big puzzle. How do you claim every single legitimate travel dollar you're entitled to without accidentally waving a giant red flag for the IRS? This isn't about finding some secret loophole. It's about building a solid, bulletproof system from the very beginning. Now, before we go any further, let's get one thing crystal clear. Who can actually use this framework? Because of a major tax law change back in 2017, these deductions are now almost exclusively for business owners. So if you're a W-2 employee, these rules, well, they probably aren't going to apply to you. And knowing that upfront is absolutely critical. To build a system that can actually withstand an audit, we have to start with the foundation. And listen, this isn't just about travel. This is the core legal test for every single business deduction you will ever make. So this part is huge. It all comes down to these three little words right from the tax code: ordinary, necessary, and reasonable. Just think of it like a three-part test for every expense. Is that flight to a conference ordinary for someone in your industry? Yes? Great. Is a rental car necessary to get to your client meetings? Probably. But is that 5-star presidential suite reasonable for a solo business trip? Maybe not. Every single travel cost has to pass this simple yet incredibly powerful test. All right, with that legal standard as our foundation, now we can start to build the main structure. And this structure rests on three core, totally non-negotiable rules that define what actually qualifies as a deductible business trip in the first place. Here are the three pillars, and you need all of them, no exceptions. First, the trip's main purpose has to be business, and you need to establish that intent before you pack your bags. You can't just decide it was a business trip after you get back. Second, you have to travel away from your tax home, which is basically your main hub of business. And third, the trip has to be long enough that you genuinely need to sleep or rest. A quick day trip across town? Nope, that's not going to cut it. So what's the big payoff for making sure you meet those three rules? Well, this is where it gets good. You get to deduct a whole range of costs. We're talking the big stuff like your flights and hotels, but also all those smaller expenses, laundry, baggage fees, even internet charges you need for work. But remember, and this is important, business meals are typically only 50% deductible.
So we've got our foundation and our pillars, but any structure is going to collapse under pressure if it doesn't have reinforcement. And in the tax world, that reinforcement is one thing and one thing only: documentation.
This is such a common and costly mistake. A lot of people think, hey, it's on my business bank statement, I'm good. But you're not. A bank statement only proves you spent the money. It does absolutely nothing to prove the business purpose of that spending. And believe me, that little distinction is what gets perfectly good deductions thrown out in an audit. Let's look at a real-world example of what happens when this whole system just fails. A recent tax court case gives us a perfect and, frankly, kind of scary look at the consequences of having weak documentation. This case shows you cause and effect in bright, flashing lights. So you have a consultant claiming travel expenses, right? But their documentation just fell apart. The mileage log was a mess, and some of the receipts looked like they'd been, altered. The court's conclusion was blunt. The proof lacked credibility. The result? Every single dollar of those deductions was denied. It's such a clear lesson that it's the quality of your proof that matters. Okay, we've got the core framework and the need for proof down. Now let's talk about a more advanced and, frankly, trickier scenario: deducting your spouse's travel expenses. This is where the rules get even more strict. This has to be one of the most common questions business owners ask. I mean,
It's very appealing to travel with your partner, but making their expenses deductible means you have to meet an incredibly high standard. It is possible, but only if you check every single box perfectly. So here's how it really works. For your spouse's travel to be deductible, they can't just be along for the ride. They have to be a legitimate employee performing tasks that are essential to the business purpose of the trip. The key is documenting exactly what their role is and why their presence is absolutely necessary. If they don't meet that standard, you can still deduct your own expenses, but you have to adjust any shared costs, like a hotel room, back to the single-person rate.
Okay, let's pull all of these pieces together now. The foundation, the pillars, the reinforcement, the advanced stuff, it all culminates in a practical, actionable plan that becomes your audit defense. I want you to think of this less like a boring to-do list and more like your personal defensive strategy. The absolute cornerstone, the most important piece, is a detailed travel log where you document the business purpose, the why, for every single day of that trip. You combine that with organized receipts and a clean separation of personal costs, and that's how you build an unshakable defense.
So the ultimate takeaway here is really a fundamental shift in how you think about all this. Your travel documentation isn't just some boring record of what happened in the past. It is your proactive defense for the future. So I'll just leave you with this question. Is your travel log just a simple record, or is it your strongest defense?